We're all just going to imagine the countdown, right?
Right.
Hi.
Hello. Welcome to Minimal Viable Streaming. It's been a while. How is everybody? Oh my gosh.
It has been a time.
Oh my gosh, it has been a time. Hello, Jen Hen. Thank you very much for the raid. It's very nice to see you all. We have just started, as you can tell. So my laptop died. So at first there were issues. And then I'm like, I fixed the issue. He's just having fun. Please ignore him. He's having a very good time.
It's got lights on it.
It's got lights on it. He's very... Here, let me try... Folks, we may go dark for a second. I'm going to turn down the ring light because Alistair's quite warm. Oh, there. That's not so bad. Everybody can still see us and it's not so bright. Do you feel more comfortable?
I do think. Oh, nah.
Yes. Oh, my. Yeah, it's very amazing, isn't it? And it has lights. And he got it at Portal Bookshop. Happy Pride, everybody.
Happy Pride, folks. So what have we been up to?
Fixing everything in the world.
Should we do mine first? Because it's the...
So it's been a very eventful 2 weeks, everybody, shall we say? Go ahead.
So my phone broke.
And then my laptop wasn't fine. In fact, the little hiccup that we thought was a hiccup was actually a broken network card.
It had a swollen battery.
And apparently a swollen battery.
I didn't even know that was a thing. We were like, does it need its plans expressed?
I don't know. But it took DPD 2 extra days to collect it. So it didn't arrive when it was supposed to arrive. And it took me 2 days on tech support because they didn't listen to me when I told them what the problem was. But you have to go through all the steps to reboot all the data and blah, 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 blah. So backed it up, stripped it down, sent it off. And then it took 2 extra days to get delivered because don't even get started about the guy.
It should be a mark of the significance.
He hadn't delivered the package. Alistair literally talked to him and said, do you have a package for us? He said no. Took a picture of our door and left. I'm like, Marguerite turned green.
It is a mark of how annoying the situation has been that Marguerite is the one doing the Stan Marsh tension headache. They're kind of,
But it's back. And it's fine.
And it turns out that I have a rubbish mutant power. My mutant power is that I can do temporarily bad things to phones that give Apple Store employees a really easy 5-minute fix.
And heart attacks.
It basically took the top of the charger off. Turns out there's a thing on top.
His phone wasn't charging. So we did all the things that we do when the phone didn't charge last time. Like clean it out and blah, 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 blah. Turns out he'd broken off a part of the charging cable in the phone in an invisible way.
Looked like a staple.
It looked like a staple when it came out. But it was a very easy fix, and it didn't cost him anything, and that was lovely. And I got this delightful new Pride wristband for my watch. Thank you very much. That was very sweet of you.
You're welcome. So all of that happened?
So all of that happened. And that was on top of a friend of ours visiting from the U.S., and then a wedding that rented a merry-go-round.
I don't have the words.
Food trucks and churro carts. It was pretty freaking amazing. There was a merry-go-round.
There was infinite pizza.
We took very good selfies and videos because the lighting was like a full-sized carnival merry-go-round.
It took these
like
poor
they
guys.
put 40 people on it, and it took them 4 hours to break it down.
And this thing was done at midnight, and these poor boys were a long way from home.
It was delightful. It was a good merry-go-round, not an evil one. Sure, honest. I mean, I think the same number of guests left that arrived. I didn't count. Wasn't my job.
Only a couple of them had the same face. It's fine.
It's fine. Good. It was delightful. And then we visited some elderly relatives who were in need of some help.
There is a health situation in my family at the moment, and it's being worked.
So we did that, and then we got back, and then everything broke. And then we had a whole long meeting of weekends.
And I don't have a job as of Friday.
Yeah, his contract is up, so we're in that delightful kind of situation.
So I applied for a job just before we hopped online, and also the one I was telling you about.
Okay, cool.
And also 2 really interesting looking high-end boutique essay markets, because apparently I'm a high-end video game boutique essay guy now.
Sure. So yeah, not so much rest. Okay, the coolest things though were, one, the merry-go-round, awesome, and two, the hotel we stayed at for the wedding had a hot tub, a little private, just the two of us hot tub. So we got back from the wedding and kicked off our shoes, and that was very nice.
Thank you so much for stopping by, Jen.
Jen, if you're taking off, have a very lovely evening. Thank you so much for stopping by. The VOD will await you. And now we're here, and we're already back to work and high speed and minimum viable streaming, because this is what I could build in the 90 minutes I had before the stream started. I'm sorry to hear that, in which that sounds bad, but yeah, but we're okay. The weather's nice. I think the heat is lovely. He has a fan. You know, we're... Wrong side. Try it again, but flip it around. There you go. See? With his lovely little lights. Happy. Merry-go-round and private hot tub sounds amazing. Everything else, not so great. Yeah, appreciate it. So, we're back at work, and at least that's normal, even though it's about to be less normal for both of us. But
yes,
we're doing...
But I have a couple of freelance contracts I'll step across to, and various other things are going on. There's a new Transformers movie out, so, you know.
There are rumors. I disbelieve these rumors. They should have given me this with the first Transformers movie, but if I had to wait, what is it, the 6th? The 7th?
This is the 7th.
But this is the 7th movie, and it's taken this long, and more importantly, if they've gone with my favorite set of Transformers, and then they're giving me the thing I want.
Which is your favorite set of Transformers?
It's the Maximals.
Well, I mean,
and
obviously.
The Predacons. Yeah. No, I grew up on Beast Wars and Beast Machines. Those are some of my all-time favorite ones. I want Silverbolt. Damn it. Mm-hmm. And his little thing. And Waspinator. I love Waspinator. But, we'll see. I'm skeptical. Go ahead. You can tell people what the thing is.
The phrase "doggy bot not here" gets used in this house about once a week.
Yes.
I've heard persistent rumors that towards the end of this movie, there is a conversation with a gentleman from a certain arm of the American military, which may or may not include the lines, "So you know about what happened in Peru?" "Yeah, kid, we do. And knowing is half the battle."
Are they gonna finally give me the G.I. Joe Transformers crossover I've been waiting for? I don't know. I don't want to believe, because I'm afraid my heart's gonna get crushed. I can't wait to watch Across the Spider-Verse, but it's been half term as well here in the UK, where I wouldn't go within 50 feet of a movie theater.
Hundreds of thousands of kids.
Yeah. It's way better than a sequel that is half of a two-parter has any right to be. It's half of a two-parter?
Yeah, the next one's out next year.
No!
Oh, yeah. Friends of ours who've seen it have said that to be continued is brilliant and agonizing.
Oh, god damn it. Okay, well, I both look forward to and despise that. That will be delightful. So for those of you who are joining us who are new, hi.
Hi, hello.
I'm Marguerite. This is Alistair. We do a bunch of night cheese nonsense. That's what this stream is called. It's why it's called Night Cheese. It's just we do so much ridiculousness. Normally we have an opening monologue where we'll, read a little funny, usually it's a funny video game review to let people settle in and get comfortable and get, situated in a drink and all that good stuff. But this evening it's probably going to be, since we haven't seen you in 3 weeks, we thought we'd just chat for a little bit and have a good time. Capitalism exists, so unfortunately there will be ad breaks at times throughout the stream, because at least this way we have control over when they run and we don't interrupt anything important. You'll have plenty of warning, and it's your chance to go away, take a stretch, see if a pet needs a snack, see if you need a snack or some medication or someone needs some water, all of that good kind of stuff.
Oh, you see, the, Dark Season. I'm going to be circling back around to that real quick. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
As in, like, the original vampire... No, what is this?
Dark Season was the first bit of science fiction TV Russell T Davies wrote.
Okay.
It is set in the mid-90s. It stars 3 kids.
Of course it does.
One of whom odd. And there were two stories. The first one involved a computer magnate called Mr. Eldritch, who looked exactly like the lead singer. Yes, I'm not kidding. Who looked exactly like...
A computer magnet!
Called Mr. Eldritch. Oh my God. Who looked exactly like the lead singer of the Sisters of Mercy, Andrew Eldritch, who gave free computers to the kids in the school to network them to do stuff. And then the second story...
Okay, I love this. Think of the seventh Doctor inhabiting the body of a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah, completely. That's nailed it.
And one of the girls was apparently Kate Winslet?
Yes, this was Kate Winslet's first job. She was 17. She's back for the audios.
Oh, wow.
Even better, the second story, this will sound like I am having an aphasic incident. I am not. This is exactly what happened. The second story involves a group of Teutonic, possibly lesbian archaeologists coming to the school to unearth the buried World War II artificial intelligence beneath the rugby field.
Wow. They better be actual Teutonic archaeologist lesbians.
Oh, shit. They're all back? That's fucking great. Marcy, the lead character of Dark Season, had a very formative effect on generations, on everyone who saw her. Marcy is the reason I carried a backpack for years. Marcy is the reason
why.
Yeah.
Okay, you can't see it, but right behind us on this wall is where Alistair's whiteboards are. And above that whiteboard is this.
All the way through...
Because of Marcy.
All the way through Dark Season, Marcy is carrying a backpack with a paddle in it. And Rogan will correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure. I want to say sometime around episode 4, someone finally goes, Marcy, I have to ask, why do you have the paddle? And she looks them straight in the eyes and says, because I never know when I'm going to be up the creek.
And that literally has a mounting above his whiteboards here in the office. It's in pride of place. Now let's see if he can fit it back in there without breaking it. Why don't you just put it down for now and we'll adjust it later? No. We will not be adjusting it later, apparently. Okay, he's very happy. He's accomplished that. So they're doing audio dramas of all of these now.
I would cut off limbs I used least to write for this.
That's going to be a lot. It's going to be wild.
Yep.
It's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
How did we get into that subject?
Because Rogan mentioned that he's listening to the Big Finish audios at the moment.
Used the same idea for the 10th
Yes, he did.
school reunion. Isn't that the one with the evil Giles?
Yes. And the truly fantastic I'm the Tin Dog moment of tremendous self-awareness.
So now Wendy asks, which begs the question, what would you cut off the limbs you use the most to write for?
I wouldn't.
No, write your own stuff.
I use them.
Yeah.
Now, you see, I have a terrible confession to make. I haven't seen the trailer for Go Home Season 2 yet. I have seen the trailer for The Expendables 4.
What?
Statham has 2 expressions. He appears to be doing light comedy.
Yes, but more importantly, they want to make Melissa McCarthy wants to make a sequel to The Spy, which is where Jason Statham realized that he could be a comedic actor, and I'm convinced that that character is exactly the character that he's playing in The Fast and the Furious.
Yes, 100%.
That is Deckard.
100%.
The Spy was amazing. I loved that movie. Give me your coat. It's a man's coat. I don't see a man wearing it. Give me your coat. Yes, exactly. There's a lot of... Jason Statham in Spy was amazing. Ground zero for him realizing, as far as I'm concerned, that he had comedic ability. And he's just run with it ever since.
Does he know this is a lake?
No one is going to be so awkward when he finds out we should leave. And it has Melissa Hart?
Miranda Hart.
Miranda Hart in it as the, sidekick. I absolutely love it. Hello, how are you? This is what we do. We natter on for a while. All right, so let's talk about what we're going to do for the rest of the stream. Unless you have anything else. I don't know if you have anything else.
What else do I have? Let me think for a moment.
Oh, no.
I probably have something.
Thank you so much, Ocean, for the subscription. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Ocean.
By all means, join Ocean. You can subscribe to our channel. Capitalism exists. Blah. Anyway. ArchiveCon! Yes, we have to talk about ArchiveCon. It was our fan art. I'm not going to go back to the screen because I don't have the buttons to do so right now. I am in the kitchen, but I heard some mentions of Doctor Who, and I need to mention I recently showed my two best friends the Master's dance clip from the 13th Doctor. For those of you who don't know it, go look it up. It is 3 minutes of delightful. You will see a Dalek and a Cyberman look at each other like they can't quite believe what it is they are experiencing, and it is chef's kiss glorious.
You can actually hear you see this shit, right? Even though it is not said out loud.
Thank you very much, Ducky. So yes, ArchiveCon is weekend after next. Please tell me it's weekend after next.
It's not next weekend. It's not next weekend.
God, because I haven't finished my presentation yet, and I need to. We are returning to be attendees, which will be delightful. There's a Q&A happening for us on Quick Vamp. I have to look up dates and times. Let's see. Our Q&A will be Sunday, so kind of towards the end of the event. I think it might be the last thing. Sunday at 9:15 p.m. UK time. So take 5 hours away for that for the East Coast, or add to that if you are further east. And then on Saturday the 17th at 1:30 UK time, I'm doing a panel called Creative Commons Wisdom, and I'm going to basically go through what is the Creative Commons and why should you as a fan or an artist care and know what it means and how you could use it to do the things that you want to do with it. So ArchiveCon has indulged me in my whole, I like to talk about legal stuff, and they're like, we have legal things for you to talk about. So that is the legal thing I will be talking about this time. Next year, I'm laying money on it. We're going to talk about machine learning and AI and what the heck the whole thing is.
As far as I'm concerned, this is part 0 of that, because Creative Commons is the thing that no AI bro has been ethical enough to bother to use that solves their problems straight away.
Right. Greg is going to miss the Saturday of Archive because Greg is having a birthday.
Oh, that's
and
just
that
rude.
Is okay.
It's rude.
And they will join us on Sunday. The ADHD feel when an event is consistently 6 months away forever. Yes, I hear you. I hear you very much so. But now it is here now. Which means I gotta finish my presentation because my computer's been broken, and Alistair's been very good about sharing his, but he's getting a little tired of it, and I don't blame him.
It's been absolutely fine. I have an iPad and I have a cute little Bluetooth keyboard that I finally worked out how to sync with it, so I've been typing away. It's been brilliant.
Sweet.
I've been watching most of Gangs of London Season 2, which is very violent, and Skinamarink, which is fucking nightmarish.
Hey,
so,
yeah, I don't call it. I'm very careful about when I say AI, I spell it A.I.
And I love you so much for that.
Because someone who lives with someone named Al, every time like, Al's doing something really bad, I'm like, hey. It's not his fault. If you want to be more precise about it, it is machine learning. It is not artificial intelligence. But, that's not as pithy in headlines now, is it?
I am for my sins on LinkedIn quite regularly at the moment, and
you're job searching.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
It's like Facebook, but if it had even less soul, but quite a lot less racism. And I actually saw something on there that genuinely made me laugh a couple of days ago.
Oh yeah.
So I opened it up and someone said, I logged on to LinkedIn for the first time in months, my feed wasn't all AI bros, and I was really happy. And then I saw it was all that stupid $3,500 AR goggle set Apple just announced.
Yeah. Everybody take a deep breath for everybody who lives in the Northeast right now and is.
Yeah,
it
definitely.
Looks like Blade Runner in New York today. Yeah. So if you are in a place where you can take a nice deep cleansing breath, do so for those who can't.
I actually saw someone say, "Oh, these AR goggles look just like Black Mirror," and I'm like, "Why is that a good thing?"
Like, you have failed a cognitive test there.
Which episode of Black Mirror in history ends with, yeah, the technology actually turned out to be really helpful and nice.
And everyone was happy. The end. Yeah.
I mean, I love that show. I'm really looking forward to the new season of it. But that gag about how every Black Mirror episode is what if phones, but too much. She just makes me laugh every time.
Yeah, exactly. All right. No bad thing happened.
No bad things happen to pigs,
Right,
especially.
exactly. So, I had to sit through an Apple Store employee talking about it while we were both getting tattooed yesterday. It was
Most importantly, how was the tattoo?
Yes, do tell us about the tattoo, Pezzy. But the thing I'm slightly frustrated about is that gigantic corporations have decided that crowdfunding is for them as well, and that they're going to release dev kits of their experimental technology as a way to raise money for actually making the technology usable.
And I mean, on the one hand, that's separating fools from cash, but on the other, there are poor people and diseases. And, you know, I am reminded of the old Spider-Man gag where he's facing down, he is called Sauron, the scientist who has become a pterodactyl and has this line about, but you're a genius, you could cure cancer. And his response is, I don't want to cure cancer, I want to turn people into dinosaurs.
I mean, that's viable. I think Pezzy sent us a photo. Go away. Go away, optional cookies on Instagram.
Oh, that is gorgeous.
Awesome. Nice.
That is absolutely
Very,
gorgeous.
very nice.
Outstanding
I love,
work.
photorealistic and everything. Fantastic. It's so good.
Amazing.
I love it. Oh, also, I know Maddie's not here, but super shout out to Maddie. They finished their course and first with honors. So congratulations. Oh gosh, the lighting's getting bad again. I'm going to have to. Sorry.
It's fine.
Sorry, it's getting dark.
It's all going a bit BBC
It's all
Kitchen
going a
Sink
bit dark. People need to be able to
They've
see
shut
us.
the mind, love.
Yeah, exactly. All right. I think that's everything. Should we give a little bit of how about this? Why don't we take a little ad break, because I can't actually see the countdown about when it is I'm supposed to run them.
Oh, one thing before we do.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I've been cast in 2 other shows.
Oh, my God.
And I recorded for one today. And I can't talk about it yet, but I have been able to use an accent I have been trying to use for 5 years. And they are the first people who've heard this and gone, we're having that.
Yeah, this character's going to make you fall in love with them and is then going to break your heart. You're welcome. There will be fan art. More fan art, please.
I think it might be 15.
I think it might be 15. I'm kind of losing track. In fact, I think this weekend, I'm going to put on my to-do list for this weekend. You and I need to update the list.
Unfortunately, not Werner Herzog.
No.
Statement of Peter Lucas.
Update.
Suck it, John.
Update the list is on the list now, because there's hashtag it has Alistair in it. I still have that thing. I just haven't made you some stickers yet. We really should. So why don't we take a little 3-minute break, and then we will come back and do a recap and maybe get a fan in here, because it's getting a little warm and poor Alistair's going to melt.
I'm doing all right.
Are you doing
fine.
okay?
Doing fine.
You sure?
Do it live.
All right,
Fine.
We'll just do it all night. We're going to take a little 3-minute stretch. Why don't you join us and do the same? Let's see if I can do this manually, because I don't have the pretty automated buttons. And when we come back, we'll do a little recap, and we will dive in to the conclusion of part 1 of There Is No Antimemetics Division. Let's see how this works. Cross your fingers! Quantum, excellent timing. We've got about 40 seconds left on the ad break. Wendy, do you not have the chat settings cog? If you don't, it may be just a thing I have, but I just turned off the setting that we were discussing in Discord during the ad break. Don't worry. Hopefully that will make it easier for you. And if not, we'll talk about it afterwards. You know where to find us.
Right here.
Right here, doing tech support. Completely I mean, on the one hand, it's nice to have like a fresh install. I don't have the cruft of years to kind of sort
good
through.
Use of cruft.
Cruft. Excellent. Thank
Cruft
you
is
very
a
much.
word that does not get enough play.
When I'm setting up something new on OBS, and on the downside, I have to manually redo everything.
And it all goes crazy.
I don't feel like it goes slowly, but then I look up and it's been 90 minutes. And I feel like I just did one thing on my list, you know? So
I would also like to point out, in fairness and with much love and respect to you, that your list is superhuman.
the stuff of legend. Look, I have a friend that I work with in EA, and she has a piece of time management software where you like program in tasks and give an estimated time for them.
Why do you not already have this?
I'm going to tell you why. And then what you do is you like build your day. You're like, I'm going to have a work session for 4 hours. I'm going to do this 6 things. And she says what happens is it keeps popping up this error message that says, you can't accomplish that much in the time available. It's terribly rude. And I'm like, yes, I would destroy things if somebody said, no, that's too many things, put them back. I'm like, no, they're my things. They're my emotional support things. I need my things.
I need all of them.
Folks, this entire notebook is just me checking off my list of the things. If you deny me my check marks, very bad things happen. Just a piece of software that's, there's not enough time available for what you want to accomplish. I'm like, oh yes, watch me. You know, it would turn into spite, and then I would be working even harder because somebody told me I was working too hard. And that is a bad thing. That's what we call negative self-reinforcement.
Yeah, you don't know me, program.
So I don't, Marguerite does not use that program because it would lead to bad things. Very, very bad things.
There would be program-related violence.
Yes, there would. So let us give you the recap. We are reading I say delightful. The writing is delightful. The story is delightful. The events are horrific. The delightful There Is No Antimemetics Division by Quantum, who is in the chat with us.
Hello, Quantum.
Hello to Quantum. Quick recap. Things have gone pants and very scary.
It has all gone a bit wrong.
Yes, it has all gone a bit wrong, and things do not look good for Homestar. I gotta say, I'm pretty sure things are going to continue to go not good. So we are going to be picking up this evening on the chapter entitled Case Colorless Green. We'll do the easy part first. If you cannot remember some of the characters in the story, there is an updating Dramatis Personae, which you can find at that link. It may contain spoilers, so if you're sensitive to that, maybe not. There are content warnings for this. There are so many content warnings for this. There are maybe all content warnings. There are some content warnings that are not in this, for which I'm always appreciative when they're not there. But the headline content warnings, follow the link if you need to check for more specifics, are phobias, death and dying, horror themes, all the horror themes, mental health and trauma, socio-political themes, violence, drug use, specifically needles, smoking, and swearing. So do check out the content warning link in the chat if you need a brief reminder about any of those specifics, or if you need them. That reminds me, I've seen that the guy who is currently dubbing Team A into German has done antimemetics. Oh, what a fun idea.
John in German.
I want to hear them all yelling.
That's like some kind of... See, weirdly, the two characters I think would pop the hardest would be John, because he'd be even spikier, and Tim, because he'd be even bouncier. Tim as an amiable German surf bro is such a good idea.
I really want to hear some of this. Is it Lavalish? Apologies if it's mispronounced. Throw a link in the chat when you get a chance, okay? Surely John in German is basically Werner Herzog. Surely.
Martin, shut up and drink more tea. You are terribly inefficient.
You're terribly
I
inefficient.
would like to see the archives.
Oh, thank you very much. Lavi, if you want. That's very nice. So Tim is Booba in German, and John is Kiki. John is Kiki. Yes. Yes, very much so. All right, so with that... Statement begins. You are all inefficient. The train was 2 minutes late. We executed the conductor.
Happy New Year, losers.
Happy New Year, losers. Yes. Okay, stop. You can't make me do Werner Herzog. That's not going to work.
Did.
Shut up. I disbelieve. Right. All right. Let's do this. Case colorless green. Item number SCP-3125. Object class, Keter. Special containment procedures. SCP-3125 is kept inside Cognito. You say Cognito, it sounds weird. Cognito Hazard Containment Unit 3125 on the first floor of Site 41. This containment unit is a 10 meter by 15 meter by 3 meter cuboid room clad in layers of lead, soundproofing, and telepathic shielding. Access is through an airlock system at one end of the containment unit. This airlock is programmed to allow only one person to enter the containment unit at a time, and to remain locked until this person exits before allowing another person to enter. Under no circumstances may any coherent information be allowed to leave the containment unit. This includes written and electronic notes, photographs, audio and video recordings, sound, electromagnetic and particle-based signals, and psi emanations. During the exit cycle, a purge system rigged to the airlock flushes the occupant's memory by flooding the airlock with amnestic gas for 3 minutes. A senior Antimemetics Division staff member must visit SCP-3125 every 6 weeks or 42 days. End of file.
You're kidding me. That's the whole entry.
That's the whole entry, Wheeler says.
It isn't even the 50th strangest thing Paul Ken has seen in the database, but still. No description, no acquisition report, no task log, no addenda, no clue who built the unit or when, or how many times it's been visited, or who carried out the previous visits, or what they took in with them, or how long they were in there.
Well, obviously Bart Hughes built the unit, Wheeler says, and this cannot be denied. The man's signature style of containment architecture is recognizable a mile out. Sleek, white, plainly impregnable without the aid of extremely heavy tools, which makes it at least 7 years old. That's 60 visits or more. I guess there are good reasons for the rest of those omissions. Anyway, the timer watchdog says it's time again.
I don't like the idea of you routinely exposing yourself to a cognito hazard so dangerous that we can't even write down the reason why we can't write it down, Kim says, especially because it's impossible for us to recover any usable information this way. You're going to go in, be incommunicado for 2 hours, and come out a smiling amnesiac. What do we gain from that? It's just a breach risk.
Wheeler hears every word of this and elects to ignore it all. There's a vague shape of familiarity about the entry as written. There were a few word choices which reassure her, in an intangible way, that it was written by someone who knew what they were doing. Possibly her. Kim is still talking.
We should just scrub that last line from the database entry. There can't be anything good in that room.
Wheeler puts her key card in the slot. The airlock rewards her with green LEDs and begins to cycle open. It's built as a slender vertical cylinder with a single opening. The entire thing rotates on its axis. Inside, there's barely room for a single person to stand without their shoulders touching the walls.
What are you taking?
Wheeler ducks to step in, turns to face him and shrugs. A stick of gum?
What? I can get you field gear. Kim says as the airlock begins to rotate again, emitting a low, quiet thrum solely as an audible warning that there is machinery in motion. Well, raid inventory, give me 15 minutes, I'll turn you into a one-woman war.
If Wheeler says anything in response to this, it's cut off by the soundproofing as the airlock rotates. Kim is left alone in the antechamber. He stares at the outer door for a worried moment. He presses He presses his ear to the door for a while, but hears nothing. Not even a faint tremble from the airlock mechanism. Inside, it's pitch dark for a few seconds. Then some unseen sensor detects Wheeler's presence and brings the fluorescents up. Half of them, anyway. The others remain inert or flicker aggravatingly. The room's interior walls are made from milky white glass, bulletproof, knowing Hughes, and plastered with paperwork, taped and blue-tacked up in vaguely coherent masses. Where there is no paperwork, people have drawn directly on the walls in marker pen. There's a conference table, long and elliptical, covered with more paperwork and a tangle of laptop computers and serpentine power supply cables. Power is returned to the machines and they are slowly booting. A data projector warms up and shines a map of the world over the far wall, almost lining up with a network of scribbled annotations on the same wall. Post-it notes of all colors litter the carpet like autumn leaves. Other than that, the room is empty. Skimming the paperwork, Wheeler discovers that nearly all of it is handwritten, and most of it charts the progress of conversations. Most of the entries are dated and signed, and most of the dates weeks apart. The conversations are panicked and fearful back and forth about dozens of SCPs, some of them antimemetic in nature, but none of them obviously related to one another. None of the notes mention SCP-3125. The only name Wheeler recognizes is her own, which appears on 1 in 10 or 20 of the notes. The notes seem authentic, and the handwriting is hers, but her notes also seem as desperate and uncertain in tone as everybody else's, and this unnerves her. There are diagrams on the walls, too, which are too complex to decode at a glance, but complex enough to make her eyes hurt to look at them. Still lost for a logical entry point to all the data, Wheeler curses all of her predecessors. Asynchronous research, whereby the research topic is forgotten entirely between iterations and rediscovered over and over, is a perfectly standard practice in the Antimemetics division, and her people ought to be better trained than this. There should be an obvious single document to read first, which makes sense of the rest. A primer. Marion, it's me. Wheeler recognizes the voice as her own. She moves around the table until she finds the laptop making the noise. There's a video playing, apparently recorded on the laptop's own camera in this room. The Marion Wheeler in the video is seated and looks unfamiliar in a way which takes the one watching a moment to put her finger on. Not exhausted, not sick, not physically injured. She's seen herself that way before in the mirror. This woman's willpower is gone. She's beaten. You've guessed already that SCP-3125 is not in this room. In fact, this is the only room in the world where SCP-3125 is not present. It's called inverted containment. 3125 pervades all of reality except for volumes which have been specifically shielded from its influence. This is it. This is our only safe harbor. This room represents the length and breadth of the war. Every competent antimemetics research project finds SCP-3125's fingerprints sooner or later. It manifests all over the world in thousands of different forms. Most of them aren't even anomalous. Some of them we already have cataloged separately in the main database. A very small number of them are even in containment. Impossibly virulent cults, broken arithmetic, invisible spiders as tall as skyscrapers, people born with extra organs which nobody can see. That's the raw data. Those manifestations are troublesome enough to deal with in their own right. The Wheeler in the video casts around, picks up a bright green felt-tip pen and a blank piece of paper. She begins drawing a shape which isn't visible from the camera's perspective while still talking. But once you get a little further down the road, you start to see a pattern emerging in the data. You need to have the training in memetic science, but once you have that training and you have the data in front of you, it only takes a little effort to arrange those data points in conceptual space and draw a contour through them. Those data points are points on 3125's hull. Those manifestations are the shadows it casts on our reality. You link 4 or 5 different SCPs together into a single shape and you see it. And it sees you. She's still drawing. It's detailed. She doesn't look up and her tone of voice is distant, almost as if she's narrating the tail end of a frightening children's story. When that happens, when you make eye contact, it kills you. It kills you and it kills anybody who thinks like you. Physical distance doesn't matter. It's about mental proximity. Anybody with the same ideas? Anybody in the same headspace? It kills your collaborators, your whole research team. It kills your parents. It kills your children. You become absent humans, human-shaped shells surrounding holes in reality. And when it's done, your project is a hole in the ground and nobody knows what 3125 is anymore. It's a black hole in antimemetic science, consuming unwary researchers and yielding no information, only detectable through indirect observation. A true description of what 3125 is, or even an illusion as to what it is, constitutes a containment breach and a lethal, indirect cognitohazard. Do you see? It's a defense mechanism. This information-swallowing behavior is just the outer layer, the poison coating. It protects the entity from discovery while it infests our reality. And as years pass, the manifestations will continue, growing denser, knitting together, until the whole world is drowning in them and everybody will screaming, "Why did nobody realize what was happening?" And nobody will answer, because everyone who realized was killed by this system. Do you see it, Marion? See it now. Wheeler is at the core of foundation antimemetic science. She had all the data readily accessible. There are extensive written calculations at the walls, but she doesn't need to read them. She can do them in her head. All it took was that slightest push, that slightest suggestion. Staring through the laptop screen, eyes wide and defocused, she understands how it all links together. She sees SCP-3125. She feels dwarfed by it. She's encountered terrible, powerful ideas before at every level of
Memeticity.
Memeticity. Okay, that's a good one. Memeticity. And subsumed them or even recruited them. But what she's picturing now is on another order of magnitude from what she knew to even be possible. Now that she knows it's there, she can feel it like cosmic radiation, boring holes in the world with its thousands of manifestations and freely laying waste to anybody who recognizes the larger pattern. It's not of reality, not of humanity. It's from a higher, worse place. And it is descending. The other Wheeler presents her finished diagram. She's drawn a mutated, fractally complex, grasping hand with 5-fold symmetry. It has no wrist or arm, just 5 long human fingers pointing in 5 directions. At its core, there's a pentagonal opening, which could be a mouth. But the diagram was already there. It's plastered across the wall in the background of the video, plain as day, a meticulous collage in green, easily 2 meters in diameter and showing the same meme complex to 100 times the level of detail. There are smaller diagrams of different elevations arrayed around it like spores, and its arms are widespread around the seated Wheeler, who sits directly in front of the mouth with her back to it. Wheeler, watching, does not realize this and does not turn around. How do you fight an enemy without ever discovering it exists? The Wheeler in the video asks. How do you win without even realizing you are at war? What do we do? 7 years ago, there were more than 400 antimemetics research groups worldwide. Government agencies, military branches, private corporations, university projects. Many of them were GOIs or subdivisions of GOIs. We were allied with most of them. We were at the spearhead of an antimemetics coalition which spanned the globe and thousands upon thousands of people. None of those groups still exist. The last one ceased to exist sometime in the last 72 hours. 3 years ago, Foundation Antimemetics was an organization of more than 4,000 people. Now it's 90. There's no war. We've lost the war. It's over. This is the mopping up operation. The only reason we still exist at all is because we have better amnestic biochemistry than anybody else in the world. Because that's all you can do when you see SCP-3125. Run away and try to forget what you saw. Seek oblivion in chemicals, alcohol, or even head trauma. And even that can't work every time. It's circling in. We meet it over and over and over again, and we don't realize it. There's no way we can stop ourselves from rediscovering it. We're too damn smart. She points at something on the wall out of view of the laptop's camera. Wheeler, watching, turns to look. In the upper corner of the room, there's a constellation of dizzyingly complicated schematics. Art Hughes' initials are on every page. There's a machine we could build. All it would take is 8 years, a lab as big as West Virginia, and all the money in the world. Nothing that the O5 Council would blink at if we went to them. But how do we build that machine without any of us realizing what it's for? It would be like building and launching Apollo 11 without a single engineer deducing that the moon existed. The logistics would be insane, but the secrecy would be well past impossible. Someone would start asking questions. And then what would we do? Then it would be over. So what do we do? Find another way. Wheeler says to the unhearing recording. The fatalistic tone of voice makes her so angry. What the hell is wrong with you? I could tell everybody to walk away. I could send a little message to myself saying, there's danger down this road. You should disband the Antimemetics division and pursue other projects. But I'd be suspicious. I'd start asking questions, and then it would be over. Wheeler's now crouched in front of the video, trying to understand what she's watching. What's wrong, Marion? Are you okay? I could kill myself in here, the recording continues. But my team would find 3125 without me, and then they'd have to fight 3125 without me. It's going to happen soon, whatever's happening. The next 2 months at most. This year, it'll be over. I may die in here anyway. I'm on so many nemestic drugs that my endocrine system is shutting down. Taking amnestics at the same time is the chemical equivalent to trepanation. Is it trepanation?
Trepanation.
Trepanation.
Drilling a hole in the forehead, in the third eye.
I don't remember the last time I slept without having a nightmare about Adam. And I'm starting to forget what 4987 is a real thing or just the number that I gave to my life. You're not like this. You're stronger than this. What happened to you? Who's Adam? I don't know how to survive this. I don't know how we win. We're the last ones in the world. After us, there's nobody. Wheeler shakes her head, not believing it. So I'm done. I'm going to walk out of this door and forget who I am. And then I'm going to be you, Marion. And you two will have to figure out a way out of this because I can't. She gets up and moves off screen. She can be heard breathing deeply. Her speech is starting to distort. God, my eyes hurt. I think Earl's starting inside. There's a sound of a door opening, and then a piercing pulse of light and sound. which terminates the recording. Learn from the best. Wheeler stares at the dark screen for a long moment. She's never heard herself so weak, and it damages her ego a great deal to see that it's possible. She feels disconnected from what she saw, like it happened in an alternate universe. She feels revulsed and appalled by that version of her, more so to know that that version is still inside her somewhere. Doesn't make sense. I'm looking at all the same facts. What made her give up? What does she know that I don't? Who was Adam? The answer to this question is so obvious and sickening that she instinctively distrusts it. She circles around the answer, probing it mentally, trying to find reasons to reject it. But it's inescapable. Adam was someone she knew when the video was recorded, now completely removed from her memory. Adam was someone the thought of whose safety paralyzed her with fear. Someone in the same headspace, someone she couldn't bear to lose. And then she lost. What if? But how'd the room get built in the first place? Anybody's guess. Wheeler imagines Hughes building it as a proof of concept, followed by a cascading series of lucky chances, which led to it becoming the war room. Someone discovered SCP-3125 at random, while sealed in the room. They wrote notes to themselves, which set up this skeletal external SCP database entry and the containment procedures. Most of the paperwork and computer hardware was left behind by later visitors. It could have happened. But what if there's another room? Unbidden, a cute factoid comes back to her right then. Site 41 is almost completely vacant. In particular, 200 meters below Site 41, there's an empty heavy engineering lab, an underground complex the size of a hockey stadium. Self-contained, in pristine condition, totally disused. Sealed up, original purpose forgotten. No one has entered it in living memory. Built by who knows how many decades back by a dead generation of antimemeticists. But what if that's where we built our weapon? Do I really believe I'm that smart? That my team and I had that much foresight, that we got that lucky? She turns to look at the airlock, running the numbers in her head. Antimemetics Division staff, other than me, 38. 42 days until the next iteration. That's past the end of the year. It'll be too late. If I leave this room now, I will never be back. The plan I have now is the best plan there's ever going to be. We're the last ones in the world. After us, there's nobody.
Kim is so deeply buried in work at his terminal, and the airlock is so quiet that he almost doesn't notice when it starts to cycle open again. We need to check you for notes, he begins, but then he sees that Marion Wheeler is curled up in the bottom of the narrow cylinder, panting as though she had just finished a marathon run. Kim holds a hand out, but she shakes her head, electing to stay lying down, knees bent up to her chest, sucking down lungfuls of air. What in the world happened in there?
Just need to breathe. Be okay in a second. I think I blacked out for a moment. I might inhale some. I think I'm okay. I think I remember the plan.
Kim looks confused and worried for a second, and then they replace him. You shouldn't be able to remember anything. What did you do?
In my head, she says, then goes back to concentrating on breathing properly. She suddenly becomes acutely aware that Kim has her effectively cornered. Disliking this configuration for reasons which she's only gradually putting back together, she levers herself up to one shoulder and tries to stand. Kim puts a hand on her shoulder and pushes her back down.
You look terrible. There's something off your neck. Do you see that? He points at her throat, then taps the same spot on his own.
What?
On your neck. I know how you've been infected by whatever was in there. We need to act quickly. He reaches for his keyring and unthreads a Swiss Army knife and unfolds a short, gleaming blade. He does this in such a methodical, ordinary way that Wheeler almost forgets to react when he leans down towards her to cut her throat.
Almost. She grips his wrist. They're locked like that for a moment, a tableau. She looks into Paul Kim's eye, but it isn't his eye anymore. She squints, wondering if she's making eye contact with anything but a hole in space. She's already feeling the force bearing down on her own skull, trying to drill into it, but she knows its shape, and that means she can hold out, maybe for a few moments. She'd hoped, prayed that Kim would not succumb so quickly, and in a crazed little way, she thought there would be at least a sign, a theatrical doubling over as his mind was wrenched out of its socket. Go ahead.
Kim's wrist spasms as he tries to lunge with the knife. Wheeler parries, and its tip glances off the airlock interior wall with a screech. They scuffle for an awkward second, then she boots Kim in the stomach with both feet, sending him sprawling in the antechamber. She launches out of the airlock, dives over him, and sprints away from the containment unit.
Yeah, go ahead.
She feels SCP-3125 following her as she runs, like a spotlight. She hears a crash in another part of the site as the first piece of ceiling caves in.
Your last first day. Marion Wheeler is curled in the corner of Site 41's main freight elevator, descending, clutching a shiny red ray gun almost as long as she is tall. The gun has a two-tined prong instead of a barrel, and its stock is weirdly asymmetrical mass of pipework, more like a Swiss watch or a small intestinal tract than a weapon. The gun is SCP-7381, and it comes from a long-dead planet, not too distant a planet when all's said and done, which conventional astronomy has yet to observe. A tornado of violence and destruction is tearing through Site 41 and through the minds of everyone working in it. Ceilings are being brought down. The site pharmacy is a sucking hole at the side of the building. The armory is buried. That's why she had to go through Area 9 and is now toting anomalous weaponry instead. The Antimemetics Division operatives she meets in the corridors are all broken. Some of them curled up and raving while their minds evaporate and they die, one memory at a time. Some infected with a collection of ideas which compel them to shout guttural phrases in strange languages and to procure blades, never guns, and work on those demented victims and each other and themselves. Wheeler doesn't recognize any of the people. Their faces are all wrong, torn up with hatred and misery and vindictive glee. She's been trying to avoid fighting, but she had to kill one man in self-defense, fired at his heart. SCP-7381 simply erased a half-meter wide cylinder of matter, removing his upper torso and lower jaw. He fell to the ground in 4 pieces. 7381's beam is invisible, silent, and recoilless. It was like using a child's toy gun. Wheeler's petrified, but more than that, she is angry. "This is too much," she calls out, willing her heart rate back under control. "I can't deal with this. I shouldn't have to deal with this. It's my first fucking day." But how much sense does that make? Wheeler studies her reflection in the dark glass of the elevator control panel, and she tours the interior of her own skull, examining her thought processes. There are hints there, which would be difficult to articulate to someone who didn't know her as well as she knows herself. She isn't thinking like a newbie. She's instinctively breaking the problem apart the way an experienced Foundation operative should. Hell, a newbie wouldn't even know how to carry out a detailed psychological self-examination of this kind. A newbie wouldn't even think of it. A newbie would just suffocate. The first thing I did when it saw me was eat everything I know about the division, she says to her own reflection, and everything I knew about it. If I had a plan, it ate the plan, but I'm still me, so I can come up with the plan again. It's already right in front of me. I just need to see it. If I were me, what would my plan have been? She scratches absently at her left wrist. Taking some hardcore domestic drugs would have been a smart first step, I guess. Reinforcing my mind so that it can't erase the rest of the steps. Damn. The nearest source of domestic medicine is the site pharmacy, but it's already been destroyed. And in any case, the elevator's headed down, away from it. No, stop. The pharmacy's been destroyed? How do I know that? Well, because she was there. She remembers finding the pharmacist crushed to death beneath a fallen medical cabinet, her skull an unrecognizable splatter of scarlet. She remembers the floor being torn away beneath her feet and only barely making it out of that portion of the building alive. She remembers a modular package colored safety orange with an enormous black Z on it. Her heart nearly stops at this. Oh, God. What did I do? She remembers the dozens of warning signs covering the package. She remembers the 3-factor authentication procedure she had to follow to get into the sealed container where it was stored. She remembers the centimeter-thick book of medical advisory information, which she discarded. And rolling her left sleeve back, she finds a fresh needle mark with a speck of blood and remembers administering the injection. This was my plan? This is what it takes to fight 3125? I've killed myself! You want to take this part now?
Class C nestics are the last word in biochemical memory fortification. Class C nestics permanently destroy the subject's ability to forget. The result is perfect eidetic memory and perfect immunity to arbitrarily strong antimemetic interference.
The dose is taking effect now. Wheeler didn't read the book because she already knew every word of it. She knows everything about what's happening to her. She can already feel her mind hardening like steel and the developing symptoms of extreme sensory overload. She can see everything. There are extra buttons on the elevator control panel. There are extra buttons on the elevator control panel, the lowest of which, the 30th floor below ground level, she somehow already pushed. The walls of the elevator are covered with graffiti scrawled by the desperate and dying, people whose conceptual presence was eradicated from reality years earlier by the Aleister Gray antimemetic kill agent, reducing them to the level of ghosts. In one corner of the freight elevator, there is even a half corpse, unidentifiable, so many layers removed from reality that not even flies can smell it. Its cells weaking out of existence asymptomatically over the course of years. There's a fistful of tiny white worms exploring the floor of the elevator car near where she's sitting. Revolted, Wheeler shuffles back from them, shaking one or two more out of her hair. The worms are among the most widespread and successful antimemetically cloaked organisms in the world. They are everywhere, in every biome, in every room. She can hear a long, alarming drone noise, a continual roaring, which has the texture of ambient noise and is continually getting louder. It's as if it's been there her entire life, and it's only now that she's begun to hear it. It's too much data, too much sound, too much light. Having her eyes open is like jamming them full of needles. She clamps her hand over her ears and screws her eyes closed. Even like this, she feels the vibrations of the elevator's slow descent and the heat of the failed air conditioning and the movement of her clothes on her skin. And meanwhile, her vision is flooding instead with what could have been hallucinations. The human sensorium routinely generates huge amounts of data, and the human brain is adapted to discard almost all of that data immediately. Altering the brain's behavior to retain that data is extremely dangerous for even very short time spans. Wheeler takes one hand away from her ear for just long enough to punch the metal wall of the elevator car, bloodying 2 knuckles. The pain gives her a focal point, a memory which screams a little louder than the rest. And she finds the plan. She doesn't remember it. She bootstraps it from first principles in a handful of minutes, just like she's done 100 times before. I know how to beat you, she says.
No,
SCP-3125 says to her.
you don't.
The elevator stops at the 30th floor below ground and its doors grind open. They wait open for a long time. Further up the elevator shaft, there are the distant rumbles of more parts of Site-41 being reduced to crumbs. Still crouched in the corner, Wheeler mutters, 3125 doesn't have a voice.
Of course I do, it replies.
3125 is a 5-dimensional, anomalous, metastasized mass of bad memes and bad anti-memes and everything in between, seeping through to our physical reality. It isn't coherent, and it isn't intelligent. It can't communicate. This is an auditory hallucination.
You know what I hate most about you, Marion? You are consistently, eternally wrong. And yet, you are still alive. All those lost battles every year of that entire lost war, but somehow you always cobble together enough dumb luck to walk away unscathed. The eternal sole survivor. You don't deserve that kind of luck. Nobody does.
While it's talking, Wheeler leans hard on the ray gun to get to her feet. She lodges one shoulder against the wall of the elevator car, still with her eyes closed. She braces herself and opens her eyes. The corridor ahead is empty. There's an airlock at the far end, this one large enough to drive a truck through, built from ultra-toughened white metal alloy in Bart Hughes' established style. There's a panel beside the airlock. She closes her eyes again and hobbles forward, using the ray gun as a crutch, stretching one hand out ahead of her as guidance. Someone has to be last, she says through gritted teeth. Someone has to be the best.
Your team is dead. Their minds have been pulled out like eyeballs. They're hollow people with holes in space where their brains were. The war is over. Finally, it's just you, Marion, a division of one. Dying from nestic overdose 200 meters underground, cared for by no one, known to exist by no one, up against an immortal, unkillable idea.
Wheeler reaches the airlock and fumbles blindly with the panel until she finds the slot for her keycard. For a few seconds, it seems as if nothing is happening. Then a yellow light flashes, the enormous mechanical interlocks unlatch, and the door cycles open with all the fuss of a flower's petals unfurling. Noise, Hughes always held, is a symptom of imperfect engineering. Behind her, she hears the freight elevator close up and return to ground level, and she knows that someone has summoned it, intending pursuit. Ideas can be killed, she says, stepping into the airlock.
How?
With better ideas. As the airlock cycles closed, so does the hermetic seal, shutting 3125 out.
Can we do this next bit?
Yep.
If something can cross over from conceptual space into reality, taking physical form, then something can cross in the opposite direction. It must be possible to take a physical entity, mechanically extract the idea which it embodies, amplify that idea, and broadcast it up into conceptual space. A bigger idea, a better idea, one designed specifically to fight SCP-3125. An ideal, a movement, a hero.
The machine Wheeler needs to build is the size of an Olympic stadium, and she doesn't have a fraction of the heavy memetic engineering experience to do it, let alone the material resources or the time. But she knows. Someone taught her. She doesn't remember who. that an Antimemetics Division operative is as good on their first day as they're ever likely to be. And the same must be true of the division as a whole. She tells herself, we won this war on the day it began. When we encountered 3125 for the first time, we built this bunker. Bart Hughes faked his death and sequestered himself here so he could work uninterrupted while the rest of the division held on for as long as humanly possible, buying time for this moment. I know this is what I did because it's what I would have done. I'm the final component. He's waiting for me. The space beyond the airlock is gigantic, structured and lit like an aircraft hangar and filled with hot, stale, dry air. Wheeler, still mostly blind, stumbles forward across an expanse of more than a hectare of flat, dusty, epoxy flooring. Hughes! She shouts into the void. It's time! Nothing returns but the echo. She glances up for a second. The space is empty. The castle-sized memetic amplification broadcasting unit, which Bart Hughes was meant to be building, is absolutely absent. Hughes himself is absent. Maybe the entire machine is antimemetically cloaked, she wonders. It would be a smart way to conceal the operation, even from the rest of the Foundation. But her brain is curdling in the strongest nemestic drugs ever manufactured. There's genuinely nothing here. Almost nothing. At the center of the space, there's a small outpost, a group of trestle tables with tools and toolboxes scattered around. Parked behind it is an unmarked military truck with flat tires. On the back of the truck is a squat, squarish machine the size of a shipping container, with unshielded wiring and exposed pipework, and a long cable leading to a heavy-duty control panel on the floor. To the untrained eye, it's not at all clear what the machine is designed to do. It's the antimemetic equivalent to a hydrogen bomb, the division's answer to a Site nuclear warhead. Activated, it would contaminate Site 41 and everything and everyone on it with antimemetic radiation. There would be no Site 41 and no division afterwards. Nothing any of the escaping infectious staff did could have any effect on the real world. It's the wrong machine. It can't destroy or contain 3125 or even injure it. All it can do is sterilize today's outbreak. The other symptoms will still persist 50 or 10 or 5 years from now, or maybe 1 year, or maybe tomorrow. 3125 will return, bringing with it its MK class end of the world scenario. Human civilization will be entirely eradicated as an abstract concept and be replaced with something unimaginably worse. There will be no one to fight it. Wheeler leans there on the ray gun for a long moment. The pressure of information in her mind, continually increasing, reaches a point where she can't take it anymore, and she starts to break. The Class Z has been in her system for long enough now that she knows for a fact she has irreversible brain damage. There is no antidote. She'll be lucid for another hour, then spend the remaining 2 or 3 hours of her life vegetative. That's right, she thinks. It's almost a relief. This is good. This is right. I've survived too long. I forgot what universe this was. For a while there, I thought maybe this was the universe where we win sometimes. The agony in her head is like an ice axe now. She drops the ray gun with a clatter, sinks to her knees, lies down, and waits for either death or a better idea.
A being superficially resembling Paul Kim arrives at the outer airlock door. It examines the airlock uncomprehendingly for a few moments and then finds the keycard slot. It hunts methodically through Kim's pockets, then remembers the keycard around its neck. The airlock cycles once more, and not Kim goes through. Behind it, the freight elevator is returning to ground level a third time. to fetch the rest. In the next room, the being which is not Paul Kim finds Wheeler unconscious with the ray gun dropped beside her. There is also a military truck, which it disregards. Not Kim lets its keycard fall from its fingers and scoops up the ray gun. For a moment, it contemplates the unconscious Wheeler, then examines the gun itself, remembering how it works. It turns back to face the airlock and fires, punching fat cylindrical holes in the white metal of the inner door until it's gone, then the outer door too, breaching the hermetic seal. A faint smile returns to Not Kim's face as SCP-3125 and its familiar, comforting signals flood into the bunker. A dozen more non-people are arriving by freight elevator, former Antimemetics Division bodies. "I found her," Not Kim calls out to them. It drops the ray gun where it's standing, as if it simply forgot that it had been carrying anything, and it pulls out its knife again. It holds the knife between two fingers in a casual, offhand sort of way, as if it were a pencil or a screwdriver. The infected non-people gather with Not Kim around Wheeler, looking down at her with alien expressions of disgust, or pity, or malice. "Why isn't she opening up properly?" someone asks. "She can't meet them unless she wants the signals." "Start with her eyes," says someone else. "It'll make the rest of her easier to correct." Not Kim leans down to start work, and then hesitates, its knife a few centimeters from Wheeler's eye. She's whispering something, so quietly that it can only hear her clearly.
"None of this happened, Paul. You and I never existed. There is no Antimemetics Division."
There's a sharp click as the bomb finishes its powering up sequence, and nobody in the room can hear this but Wheeler. Nobody in the room, in fact, can perceive the bomb but Wheeler. All they can see is an empty truck. The world goes black.
End of part 1.
Part 1.
End of part 1. And I think there was an ad break that ran in the middle there that I didn't get notified about, and I apologize for that, but I am not... My alerts are not properly configured.
Damn, Quantum.
Right? So, the world is ended, and we'll pick it up next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Those are two of my favorite chapters in the book. I really like how every time you think, oh, it can't get worse, it gets worse. Oh, it can't get worse, it gets worse.
And it just builds.
Oh, it can't get worse, it gets worse.
And builds.
Yeah, that's the end of part 1. We have an interlude next.
Yes, it's a good one too.
Yes. It's entitled SCP-2256, Very Tall Things. And that is where we're going to start next week.
Oh, we're about to meet my favorite thing.
Yes, I think we are.
Oh, this is a book that has wonders on every second page, and that interlude is so good.
Are you going to tell everybody about how this is the Vegas room, that we've now encountered the Vegas room, and you love the Vegas room?
I believe the Vegas room is next.
Oh, I thought that was the Vegas room.
No, I think the Vegas room is next.
Oh. I'm conflating two things then.
Oh my god, this was originally the ending.
This was a standalone 5.0 series, and this was the end until I decided to write a second series. I'm glad you wrote a second series.
Me too.
I was like, okay, I've finished everything. Now what do I want to do? It's a nice challenge.
Yeah,
that is.
You are right.
I'm right. That is a Vegas.
That was a Vegas.
What goes into Vegas stays in Vegas, right?
Love that.
Exactly. I like that very much. Now I have no idea whether or not it kind of looks like an ad is running right now. I wanted to write a time-boxed story over the course of a single year. Oh, I like that idea.
That's really cool.
It's a very fun idea. I can't tell if an ad break is running or not right now, folks. You'll have to let me know. Because I was going to have us... No ad.
Thanks, Sandwich.
Okay. I was going to have us take a little break, I think, because I could use some water for sure. And what does time-boxed mean? Oh, I see y'all. Have we met Chinatown yet? No. There's been a reference to a Chinatown, but we haven't met it yet. This is such a good book. I mean, it's horrible, but it's wonderful. And those two things don't have to be mutually exclusive. with a fixed starting date and
a fixed
an
ending date.
Yeah.
I see that.
Exactly. Right. So why don't I take us on a little break here so we can all stretch and get a little bit of water, and I think I have a cup of tea. We'll see. And then we will do something decidedly lighter-hearted for a few minutes before we call it an evening. It's horrible, affectionate. Yes, exactly. Very much so. So I will manually push the taking a break button.
Flick the switch.
We'll see if it all works, and we will be back in just a moment or two. That did not work. Let's try again. Maybe this button? we're back because there's no timer. So it's very abrupt and very sudden. And also, loving the trans flag for shenanigans, for stream, for pride. Right. Do I have the text? I might actually have put the text of the shenanigans together. Let's see. Yay! I did! Okay, good. I had time for like 3 buttons. And apparently the shenanigans was one of it. So, excellent. Content warnings for the shenanigans are in the chat. They are headlines, death and dying, mental health and trauma, social-political themes, violence, discussions of crime, and discussions.
Doing crime.
And swearing. I'd just like to interject, hold on, for a moment and tell you I am very much enjoying this book. You've done an amazing job. Well, yes,
Quantum,
absolutely. Thank
Holy
you very
crap.
much, Piebald. I appreciate it. All right, good night to anybody who needs to take off. That's fine. The VOD awaits you. We're just going to do some nice, lovely, fluffy, not horror fuel about the magnets. Wait. No, we are going to continue our delightful Ask an Executive. You've got questions, we've got answers from the amazing Shiny Opals. We are starting on Chapter 2 on January 9th, 2017. A further update from a long-time letter writer in a high-stress nonprofit job. Well, there's a little background thing. As a reminder, while some of the information the OP sends may occasionally seem difficult to believe, there are any number of strange jobs out there, and he sent me a number of pieces of information verifying certain aspects of his letters. Please approach his questions and updates in good faith.
Dear Abigail, I
scoot up a little bit more.
thought I'd send another update as you've previously provided some helpful advice. Honestly, at this point, I don't know if there is anything that can help me. To say events have progressed is an extreme understatement. Firstly, I have been provided with CCTV footage confirming the absolute innocence of my assistants and Eli in the previous crime.
I love the surprise voice.
Making it supremely unlikely they are trying to kill me. This is good news. It is obviously good news. The police, however, have not solved the crime, and I am still not safe. I fear I have irreparably damaged some of my relationships.
Only in Chapter 2, John?
Tom was a friend once, now he is not. Sarah is distant. I don't understand. How do I fix this? Finally, this is difficult to explain, but I have learned that we can neither resign nor be fired. The mechanism is unimportant. It may be best to imagine we trapped by some arcane legal rule, or that we are held in place by blackmail. Nonetheless, please do not advise me to resign, fire anyone, or similar. I cannot. I have tried. Kind regards, extremely questionable non-profit OP. Thank you so much, Hawkeye.
Also, yes, that is Julian and Queen on the shelf back there. Dear nonprofit OP, firstly, it sounds like you're in an incredibly difficult situation, and I'm so sorry to hear that. I hope it's a relief to know that you can trust those you work most closely with. I must urge you to leave the police to their investigation of this matter. It's possible they already have a suspect in mind. Secondly, I shall exercise my own policy and take your statement in good faith that you believe you can't resign or be fired. I recommend you do what you can about this. If this, as you say, is some arcane legal rule, a consultation with a lawyer would be an extremely worthy investment of the money. If this is blackmail, I'd advise the same. To address the more practical matters, you've not included much context about the irreparable damage to your personal relationships. If you yourself are in the wrong, then a sincere apology and changing your behavior can go a long way to mending fences. If they are, and it is, about personal matters, the best thing to do is keep your work relationships professional. One important thing to note is that as a manager, you shouldn't aim to be friends with your subordinates. Friendly, yes, but not friends. You're in a position of power with respect to disciplinary measures and their performance reviews, and you should aim to retain a professional distance. It can be difficult to build that up if you're promoted amongst a team of your peers, but it's vital that you do and that you establish professional boundaries. I'm so sorry. I would read the shit out of a John consults a lawyer about the not being able to resign thing. Oh my God, yes. On that note, I think it's worth you considering your relationship with Marvin as compared to your relationship with the others. It sounds as though the two of you have become close, perhaps friends. Do you think that's an accurate statement? I think it's worth remembering that your first letter to this blog was discussing his performance issues. If you're no longer performance managing him due to your own relationship with him, then you need to distance yourself. This could be part of the reason for the breakdown in relationship with Tom and Sarah. They see you as playing favorites. This can be damaging both to you as a manager and to Marvin's own career and professional relationships. And it's better to cut it off now. Top comments.
MRV 3000. Oh my God, is this Scientology?
I'm pretty sure we'd have seen in the news if there was a terror attack at one of their headquarters last summer.
But we've all agreed this is definitely a cult, right?
Oh yeah, unquestionably. Just one that isn't like the first Google page for cult. Probably. Unless OP really did not do the research when he was hired.
Loath as I am to encourage your speculation, I can confirm that when you research our organization online, we have no obvious cult connections.
Hey OP, one of the reasons people have trouble leaving cults is because they have to be deprogrammed. Another is because of a fear of being cut off from familial connections. I hope I'm not reading this wrong, and I truly mean no offense, but you seem pretty exhausted or cynical about the whole thing, and you don't exactly seem to have the closest relationship with your coworkers. Can you really not just leave?
It may be simplest to imagine I am physically chained to my desk. The chains are metaphorical, but no less real.
How do you even join a cult?
I'm pretty sure you do a free personality quiz on the side of the road.
I'm a Libra Sun, Capricorn Rising. What cult do I get to join?
Luckily for you, not mine. I had to do a job interview.
OP knows Tom Cruise!
Jesus, what a situation.
No kidding, I thought my job was fucked up.
Hey OP, why does someone want to kill you? Is this like some fundraising dispute or something I missed out by working private sector?
I've worked for some pretty messed up non-profits in my time.
Oh, that sounds like every non-profit I've ever worked in, to be honest.
This happens at more than one place?
Good Lord. I know why my place is the way it is, but I'm alarmed to hear none of this surprises you.
You know what the non-profit world is like. Charismatic founder actually means dramatic, ego-driven founder. Everyone cares about the mission, so they're way too personally involved. No money for proper HR oversight because the donations have to go to the cause, or more accurately, the CEO's salary. Don't think yours is so special just because they've got some weird legal mumbo-jumbo to keep you from quitting. I've seen it all before.
You may have a point.
Jeez, OP, how did things go so bad with your assistants?
It's complicated and not pleasant.
That sucks. Sounds like you're pretty sure you're at fault, so I hope apologizing works out. And don't be afraid to give them some time. It's not fun, but if you've wronged them, they don't have to accept your apology right away, or ever, let's be honest. Just give them some space, be decent. Hopefully in time you guys will work things out.
Why is Marvin the lone holdout? Can he put in a good word, or help mediate?
I'm not sure that's a fair position to put him in.
Thank you. Yes, I agree. I won't get between his relationship with Tom if I can help it.
Oh, what's Marvin's holdout? There's another response there.
I honestly couldn't tell you. I'm just lucky, I suppose.
He gay AF. Locking this thread here. Thank you very much. And that is the end of the chapter. Well, we do have a couple minutes left. If we want to start on chapter 3. We can start on chapter 3.
Let's start another one as a treat.
Obviously. I had to do a job interview to join mine. Chapter 3, as a reminder, content warnings. If it happens in canon, it might be mentioned here, albeit usually talked about obliquely or avoiding direct reference, and because of that, the non-canon characters don't take it as seriously as they would if it was happening to them. Internet commenters being internet commenters, they're moderated, but the moderation is imperfect, and some of them are weird, intrusive, or have occasionally offensive beliefs. Okay. Ask an exec. You've got questions. A long-awaited update. May 5th, 2017. So 4 months later. Hey all, if you're not familiar with our below OP, please start here or click here to read his latest letter. I should warn you, however, if you're starting from the beginning, make sure you've got a while. As an additional reminder, our comments policy is to take a good faith approach to the queries those who write in have. Given the nature of this situation, this OP has also been so kind as to provide me with various pieces of proof along the way that have been enough to satisfy me while maintaining his privacy. In addition, please do not attempt to guess where he works or any other personal details that may risk doxing him.
Dear Abigail, it feels strange to be writing again after so much has happened. So much keeps happening. And yet, I still have a job. The work must go on. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
John.
I must thank you and your readers for continuing to humour my bizarre tales, but truthfully I wouldn't know where else to take them. My assistant Sarah is dead. She died in the course of her work for us. I hope it doesn't come across as unseemly to move along quickly from that event. I don't expect you or your commenters to mourn someone whose name I've only mentioned a few times, and you will forgive me for not delivering a eulogy through an anonymous internet advice forum. It happened some time ago. We did not realize for too long. I learned the truth in February. On the same day, I learned many other things that at once seemed to distract from her loss and to prolong the time spent thinking of it. We were friends once. I wish I remembered her better. But keep moving forward I must, and so must we all. She is missed. Due to those events, I was forced to take a leave of absence until very recently. It would have been unsafe for me to email you. I have now returned to work and stability to find things are changed. I think I have changed too. I don't know what to do with that. However, to address the most practical matters, Eli has hired 2 new assistants, Melody, she, her, and Basima, she, her. He has also contracted with Dahlia, she, her, a friend of Basima's, to provide security. Despite the dramatic events I have previously written of, this is not a positive development. Eli achieved these hires by engineering a scene where he confessed to murder, not Sarah's. There was a second death. Like the villain from a cheap novel with a penchant for dramatics.
Thank you for that line, Opal.
We do not, unfortunately, have a recording of this. He then blackmailed Dahlia and Basima. Melody he had previously hired under what I understand to be false pretenses, whilst I was otherwise occupied. After this scene, which did at least have the dubious benefit of allowing me to return to my normal life, I had been falsely accused of the murder he committed. He sent everyone but me away. At this point, he informed me of a special project he wishes our department to undertake that is of paramount importance. If we do not do this, then significant loss of life is possible, all but a certainty to hear him tell it. He subsequently refuses to give me any constructive help in achieving this. Apologies if the above seems complex or illogical. I am trying to explain my situation as briefly as possible. To be blunt, I now have to lead my department, such as it is, in important life-saving work. This despite the fact that my department consists of Tom, hates me, Melody, also not a fan, and friends with my ex, Basima, here under duress, Dahlia, here under extreme duress, hates me, terrifying, and Marvin, don't want to burden him. How do I do this? Is there any way to make it work? I think I'm just going to move into my office and do it myself unless you have any alternative suggestions. And no, we still can't resign. Kind regards, me again.
Dear me again. This might be the most unprofessional opener I've ever written. But holy shit, my guy. I am so sorry for your loss. When someone dies unexpectedly, it takes a lot out of you. You should look into taking some time off for bereavement, and you should make sure your assistants also do so. Don't forget that the option to talk to a therapist or bereavement counselor may be a good one. Of course, you're feeling strange, and of course, everything you've been going through is leaving you feeling all kinds of ways. I can promise you, what you're going through is all extremely normal, no matter how you feel about it. Grief can come out in a multitude of ways. Normally, I advise you to talk to your manager about your workplace policy or whether you have a benefits program that covers such counseling. However, in this case, it sounds like this is not an option. To be the best manager you can be to your team, therefore, I'd recommend covering your assistants as much as possible. Can you give them paid time off without needing approval? If not, what about unpaid time off or flexible hours? To be clear, I would not generally condone looking for loopholes in the system for a normal and non-abusive place of work. However, it is so clear now that this is not where you are at. The best thing you can do as a manager is try to be a buffer between your assistants and Eli / the worst / the rest of your organization. That said, I need to be really explicit here. You need to do what you can to keep yourself safe, first and foremost. Don't throw yourself in the path of danger for the sake of your assistants having an afternoon off. I will respect your request not to suggest you resign, but I strongly recommend you to continue to take whatever steps you can towards figuring out how to do so. A consultation with the employment lawyer can be so worth it. In terms of Eli, you say he explicitly confessed to murder in front of multiple witnesses? That level of eyewitness testimony is absolutely enough to be open investigation into him with law enforcement. I obviously recommend you be discreet and careful, but please, for God's sake, try to get rid of him. Even if a conviction weren't secured in a court of law, multiple witnesses coming forward about abuse and blackmail to the board of directors or the donors of your organization should absolutely be enough for a higher power to intervene. I absolutely urge you to speak to a criminal lawyer before taking definite steps down this route, especially as it sounds like blackmail is involved, but you should not give up. Finally, you say he's given you a new project that's suddenly critical? I think you need to view this with a very skeptical eye and obtain some more proof that the word of your extremely corrupt boss that this is genuinely the case. It seems like his interest right now will be distracting you from the murders, plural, at your organization. What evidence do you have that his deadline is real or that loss of life is even a possibility? I know you've asked about supporting and motivating your staff to help you, but to be blunt, a team building day isn't gonna cut it here. I'm sure some of them will do some work to assist, however begrudgingly, because it's their job, they're physically present. Working with a friend of an ex does not have to be a problem, provided you both remain professional about it. At the moment, I think your best approach with any of them is to apologize only if apologies are still owed. Support them in their need for personal time while they'll deal with the stress and the grief of the job. Do what you can, again, within reason, to protect them from the worst of your organization and maintain a polite, friendly, professional environment without pushing for more than that. Unfortunately, as their manager, it's not your job to always be liked, but you should be able to discuss work as required and hold them to account if needed.
Oh, thank God! Cold Guy's back!
I know, right? I was getting so worried. It's been ages since the last date. I was really hoping he was okay.
Me three. I was just asking about him on the open thread last weekend in case I'd missed a post. Worried? I'm just an anonymous letter writer.
Something is trying to kill you. Of course we're worried. You just seem like a normal dude.
Cult guy.
Sorry, dude, but my brain needs something consistent to keep track.
Cold Guy! He's here!
How are you doing? Sounds pretty rough.
I've been better.
Have you tried meditation, OP? It can do wonders for stress.
Red, have you ever meditated after someone tried to murder you?
I'm just trying to be helpful.
I'm pretty sure OP should be on something harder than deep breathing and sitting for the stress at the moment. Thank you for...
And OP/me again /
cult guy. You can hear him go, cult guy.
Cult guy.
Thank you for featuring me again. I appreciate your suggestions. Unfortunately, I do not believe this organization's donors are particularly concerned with Eli's wrongdoing. I'm also not convinced we have a board of directors separate from Eli and the wealthiest donors.
Oh, buddy, I'm sorry.
It's not like you didn't guess half of this stuff when I first emailed in, JG.
There's not much pleasure to be had in being rife, though, is there? I'm glad to see you back online, I suppose. I'll save the union pamphlets for your next email.
Thanks. I'll look forward to it.
Still, only like the 4th shadiest nonprofit I've ever heard of.
Hey, Guy, his friend is dead. Maybe leave off one-upping for this time, huh? Thank you? You truly don't need to, but that is very kind.
Fist bump. NP.
Honestly, dramatic murder confession and blackmail sounds kind of fun. My workplace could never.
Is Eli hot, OP?
What?
Sorry, OP, did you say you were in jail from being falsely accused of murder?
No, I didn't say that at all. I went on the run instead.
Bro! Holy shit, you are the coolest person I know.
Thanks. But I've never been called that before.
How the hell did you evade the police? Did you get into any car chases?
It wasn't quite that dramatic. Going on the run primarily requires lying low and hiding, so I've learned.
Are you gonna write a tell-all book?
I certainly wasn't planning on it.
How the fuck?
Yeah, man. Hey, cab.
Rip, Sarah. I hope her family's okay, and so are you, OP.
Thank you. I appreciate your thoughts.
She'll be in my prayers tonight.
Thank you. I know you didn't know her, but her memory being shared is some small comfort.
Trying to see how long this next one is. Significantly. So why don't we wrap it up here? We'll start next time with...
A question about workplace etiquette from a friend of the blog.
Oh, no. Hang on. No, we have to at least read the letter and her...
Very well. Okay.
A question about workplace etiquette from a friend of the blog. May 14th, 2017. Another update from our longstanding writer who possibly works at a cult. If you're new and you've not got time for the back thread on this, you're going to have to trust me when I say you should make the time.
Dear Abigail, I hope you are well. Question of professional courtesy today. I believe I've mentioned before we have a business casual dress code. Well, I'm violating it. One might even say, with gusto. When I was on the run, the police interrogated my landlord, and, charming man that he was, he used this as an excuse to file for eviction, and presumably up the rents for the next tenant. During this process, I lost my possessions. Therefore, at the moment, I am wearing to work a mixture of my ex-girlfriend's cast-offs, a few mystery items from her ex-partners, and whatever is going cheapest at the local charity shops. I am covered up, and on occasion almost stylish, if a touch gender ambiguous, but it is a far cry from the shirts and ties I wore before the murder accusation / eviction / loss of my previous wardrobe. So far, 2 of the other departmental managers have emailed me to complain that I am setting a bad example. I think they would have been down to my office to discuss it with me, except I'm rarely in, and when I am, it turns out Marvin is kicking out anyone who wants to speak to me. I'm not supposed to know this, but I saw it happen. He is surprisingly good at putting the fear of God into people. For what it's worth, the complainants are not, as far as I'm aware, evil murderers. That's just Eli. Their only crime is being tedious middle management and let he who is without sin, etc. Let me put it this way, it is a somewhat subtle cult. Anyway, what is the professional way to tell the other departmental directors precisely where they can shove their dress code? Fond regards, Cult Guy, apparently.
Dear cult guy, I must commend you on your desire to be professional here. While it sounds like you are justified in this particular instance of not following the dress code, it will probably benefit your relationships with the rest of your coworkers to not be deliberately antagonistic. I'd recommend shooting them a quick reply to their emails to thank them for the concern, but state that, due to circumstances beyond your control, you are currently exempt from the dress code. I would, however, also recommend you try and acquire some dress code compliant outfits in the near future. Even if you can get the other department managers to back down, your own assistants will likely consider the double standard unfair. In my experience, you should minimize special exemptions, especially about those which apply to yourself. I'm extremely sorry to hear about the eviction. It's outside my purview, but I assume there's no way you could challenge the decision or sue for compensation?
Wow, screw landlords.
They gotta make a living, just like everyone else.
Oh, how does that boot taste?
They don't make a living. They literally just raise prices. They're the middle managers of housing.
Look, I know some landlords are trash, but they're not all bad. My landlord's great. He's prompt to fix things and the place is in good shape.
Simp.
This isn't necessarily about individual landlords. It's more about the unfair housing system.
People, keep the politics to a minimum.
Some people want to rent. I'm aware this comes across as a U-turn on the statement in my letter, but sometimes middle managers can do quite a lot of work, you know.
Ooh, gender ambiguous. Tell us more, LP.
I am not sure there's much more to say, and that emoticon is making me slightly uncomfortable.
Ignore them. Live your best self, cult guy. Gender doesn't belong in dress codes anyway.
I quite agree with that. And honestly, my current organization has a rather progressive take on such matters. I'm mostly failing the dress code for the length, number of rips, tears, amount of metal, fluffy cat prints, and general unsuitability for public-facing work. Tom was too busy gaping to tell me to fuck off that day, though, so it had some benefits. Although Marvin, pardon me, couldn't look me in the eye.
Oh, I bet he couldn't. Are you not concerned with Marvin kicking out other department managers? It seems quite unprofessional. You obviously can't always be available to them, but it does sound like you're in the kind of role where you have a PA managing your diary?
He's not my PA. He's my friend. And if I don't want to meet with them, this seems like a win-win all around. It's not as if it'd be a more productive discussion face-to-face.
How do you know the other managers aren't in the cult, OP? They could be just like you.
Same character.
My point being, maybe you should get together and unionize your cult members.
I would love to. However, it's slightly more complex than I've made it out to be here. They are in the cult by virtue of working for the organization, but they are not trapped in the cult the same way we are. Perhaps they would sympathize if they knew, but by telling them anything, I would be putting them in danger, bringing them into Eli's orbit.
Can your department not unionize them?
I could leave some pamphlets subtly hinting in the break room, I suppose, but I suspect Eli would sabotage it. And/or shoot someone.
High five, OP. The pamphleting, not the possibility of being shot, I mean.
Thank you for featuring my email and for your advice. To clarify, I no longer enforce the dress code for my assistants either, so none of them can accuse me of being unfair in this particular matter.
That's one thing, I suppose, but it probably won't help your positive relationships with the other departmental managers.
Perhaps I'll recommend they take it up with the ex-cop who carries multiple weapons with her at any one time.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, sorry. Rereading my emails, I suppose I've never been specific. Dahlia will hurt you if you look at her in a way she doesn't like. I mostly get by these days because I think Eli has told her not to murder me.
What the fuck? I'm sorry, are we trusting Eli now?
Absolutely not. He just needs me for something.
Fucking Christ, OP.
What?
What the fuck?
Wait, you work with some kind of gun-toting ex-cop?
Okay. The next update is June 21st, 2017, an update from our most complex long-term contributor, which we will come back to next week.
You know what?
Shiny, this is brilliant. I love this so much.
It's an awful lot like what John really needs is a new boss.
Does sound like he could use a new boss. I can't wait for the next chapter. This is gonna be awful. I can't
Opals,
wait.
this is amazing. Thank you.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I'm reading ahead one line. Melody has made repeated attempts to assassinate Eli. Oh my! This is not overly conducive to a productive workplace.
You've nailed.
That is so John. Oh my god!
And you've nailed that thing where he's very polite and then he's arch, and then he goes, "Well, obviously this is very awful and things are on fire," and just gets slightly huffy.
Cult guy. Oh my god, this is gonna be so
Evil
good.
women enjoyer.
Evil women enjoyer. Anyway, we'll come back next week. We'll come back to that. Speaking of next week, where are we next?
Well, all sorts of places. On Sunday, we will be returning to and possibly finishing.
You missed Friday.
This coming Friday.
Come back again.
This Friday,
just having fun
the
for
latest
now.
issue of The Full Lid, our frequently award-nominated pop culture newsletter, will go live. There's some delicious food in this issue, and also a deeply terrifying horror movie, amongst other things. It's a good time. It's free. Out Friday at 5.
Then on Sunday.
Then on Sunday, we may be finishing Coffee Talk.
Really? You think?
Yeah.
You think we're near Endgame? Well, the first part of Coffee Talk, there is now a chapter 2 that has been released that we haven't played, but I think we're almost done with chapter the first game where things. Poor Gala had
Gala wolfed out.
And had a very bad day. We fed him a cup of tea and sent him home, and I hope he's feeling better now.
Bailey's and Lua appear to be permanently reunited, and they got a little animated exchange, so it looks like their plotline has come into land. And we gave Neil living spacesuit a job.
Yes, he got to be a barista or a greeter at least for the day, which is nice. And then hopefully next time I'll have slightly better automation with the stream.
I'm sure you will.
Because I'll have spent some time on it this weekend. I'll take one next time we're there. Sounds good. Speaking of John's new boss, my partner and I were in Asda earlier, and there was a garden gnome dressed up as a sea captain. And they went, look, they have a Peter Lucas gnome. That sounds delightful. And then we'll be back here next week for the interlude.
More of all of this, basically.
Yes, exactly.
The first interlude in There Is No Antimemetics division, and an update from our most complex long-term contributor.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's everything. So thank you very much.
We're apparently signing off in the middle of an ad.
Is there an ad running? Oh no. Well, I don't have any control over that, I'm afraid. So we'll have to, well, okay, Vamp, fill 2 minutes.
Okay, so yeah, this coming Friday in Full Lid, we're going to be taking a look at Skinamarink, the terrifying horror movie which I watched earlier today in the sunshine, so it wouldn't get me. We're also going to have some bits of Tasting History with Max Miller, who is one of our favourite food tubers, and all sorts of other stuff, including a detailed breakdown of where you can find us.
Yeah, I need to fix the stream thingy so it tells me when the ad's going to run so I have control over it, because right now it's just kind of jumping in with it. Hey,
It's funny you should mention that, Wendy, and I'm really glad you brought it up, because it's not really something I've ever had that much of a chance to talk about. It's an early one. It's about episode 12 of season 1. It's called Celestial Navigation.
Never heard of it. Thank you very much. Mort has been rapidly watching the stream. Fantastic. I love it.
Excellent.
Let us know when the ad. Well, they can't let us know when the ads end because they don't hear us talking. Well, the timer has stopped. I don't know what that means, so I'm going to push the "Please No More Ads" button and see if that does anything. We'll give it a minute and see when folks are back. I'm trying to think about what else is going on right now. Go ArchiveCon free.
ArchiveCon free online, delicious.
2 more weeks.
Deeply lovely.
Delicious? Did you say delicious? No, you want to talk about delicious. Okay. You remember how I told you I made Chungus crackers? I think I've perfected it. I made Cheez-Its, and we ate the entire freaking pan
in about 2 hours.
And they were so good. They were very good. It sounds like everybody's back, so we can say the yeasty lad is fine. I should have dug him out one day. I apologize. I haven't had any time. He's fine. He's boobling away because I turned him into crackers last week.
So he's done a bit of a bolt.
And then I ate them all because they were very tasty.
That is not true. I helped.
You did help, and I ate the rest.
Also, especially now they're here, massive shout out to Rebexo for the just stunning Scarlet Hollow TikToks.
Yes, 100%.
Holy crap.
They're very good. I think you found your niche there with Tabitha.
I would not for a second have imagined that Tabitha's awful, pained kind of smile would work in live action, and it does.
It's also an achievement. If you get her to smile like that, you unlock an achievement in the game, which is wonderful and terrifying. Which is great.
Girl boss.
Please go and find them on TikTok because they are fantastic.
Yes.
I agree completely. Right. Shall we go ahead and sign off then?
You know what? Let's do that.
Okay.
We will see you on Friday for the full ed. We'll see you on Sunday for Coffee Talk. Thank you so much for joining us. I've been Alistair.
I've been Marguerite.
And this has been fun. We'll see you next time.
Let's see what happens when I push all the end buttons. Fingers crossed.